Welcome to the Black and White. This is episode 2. Today I have an amazing guest on, a young man by the name of Adam West. I didn't know Adam real well until today. I got to know him a lot better, obviously. But Adam he's an alumni of Perkins High School, relatively recent. We'll get into that in the podcast. But he has someone. He was a suggestion from a colleague of mine who said, "Yeah, this is someone who reads a lot. Would be an interesting story to tell." And it turns out that indeed he has a very interesting story to tell, especially about how he got into reading, and that it wasn't something that was easy for him. I hope you enjoy the show. Let's go. Black and White, episode 2. Adam West,
Yes.
Welcome to the podcast, Black and White.
Thank you so much.
Your episode number 2.
Oh, awesome. First is the worst, second is the best.
There you go.
So, as Mr. Jeff Stacklin has introduced me, I'm Adam West. I am a 2024 alumni of Perkins Local School District. I was a wrestler for Perkins. I had done various little odds and ends for the school. I am currently, I coach assistant coach for the middle school.
For wrestling.
Okay. I substitute as well. Okay. I substitute for the school system. Usually try to help the furry and middle school. Haven't been to Medalon yet. I would love to get to Medalon here soon. Hopefully I can make that happen. But I am a early childhood education major at the Firelands College, BGSU Firelands College. Family and siblings that I have. Yeah. I have most of my family, all of my family were Perkins alumni. From my grandpa to my aunts and uncles, and then me, and then hopefully my sister here soon. She's a sophomore here. Her name's Emery West, and she definitely reads a lot more than I do. I think she's close to being legally considered a library with the amount of her. Awesome. She has that many books, and she's constantly reading and stuff like that. So
Adam, I want to talk to you first. Obviously, you're tight with Perkins. The Perkins community means a lot to you. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit. I mean, obviously, it seems like you want to give back to Perkins.
So what my biggest thing in life? There's a quote. I don't know who it's from, but it goes along the lines of be the person that makes people think there are kind and beautiful souls out there. That's why I chose my career. I think being a teacher can help me positively influence as many youth as I can. Because growing up, I did not have a father. My father was gone, and then he sadly passed away, and that had become a very motivating factor to me to influence and help students and children who don't have father figures, because I get it all the time. Every teacher that I talk to, every professor that I talk to say, it's great that you're going into the school systems. We need males in the school systems to help and, influence students, because a lot of students now, I don't know exact percentages, but there's a lot of students out there with either single parent homes, divorced homes, or just, passed away family, or just from kids living with different guardians like grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles, stuff like that. So it's important that we have kind of a pillar of stability.
Real quick, you probably already answered this question, but what matters to Adam West? What is your heart and soul kind of thing, that issue?
Experiences matter. I think having positive experiences and good experiences matter. I think a lot Time is extremely important to me. My girlfriend and family always worry about me, overdoing myself because I'm always out doing something. I don't like wasted time. I don't like being late. Those are two very important things to me. So, I always try to fill my time with, experiences with my friends, even the littlest of couch conversations, going and visiting my friends, going and trying new things, travel. I was hoping to get to study abroad this summer. I wasn't accepted for a scholarship that I wanted for it, but things like that, getting out, getting away, seeing new things, trying new things, baking, stuff like that. Like I tried baking because my girlfriend was feeling down, and I decided to make her a lemon cake. And I'm not,
How'd it turn out?
It turned out pretty good. I think the
Awesome,
second one that I made turned out worse than the first one, but but just trying those things and kind of seeing the beauty in humanity. There are so many little things and intricacies that you can experience as a human. Like,
Well, let's segue a little bit into the second section, talking about books, kind of why we're here.
Yeah.
Adam, tell me, what is your favorite book? As a young man, what is your favorite book?
So, as a young man, it would have to be Ayn Rand's Anthem. So, Ayn Rand's Anthem is a story about in the Cold War, if something were to happen and let's say like the U.S. got blown up or whatever power in this story got destroyed, communist power takes over and they kind of revert back to Roman times almost, where they wear like Roman leotards and they use candles instead of electricity, and they speak in a weird way. They only say like adjectives that describe a whole group instead of the word I. There are very few times, I think there's only one time where the character Equality 7-2521 uses the word I. And that's at the end of the story when, like after the rising action and stuff like that and the peak of the story. But it's just a great story, a great kind of like dystopian fiction story. But there's only 105 pages of reading. So it's a short read, not the longest read, but I enjoyed it because I think this was one of the first books I read in Mrs. Mary Darr's advanced English class. And
so you read this as a middle schooler,
yes,
7th, 8th grade?
Yes. I think, well, maybe 6th grade, because her class was from 6th to 8th grade.
Right.
So in that time span, I read this. There's nothing graphic in it. It's very,
it seems like a very heady novel.
It is heavy, but it's just, I think it's heavy on the themes more of than like, there's no like graphic violence that might be in like a, high school book, something like that. It's not high school. It's like, I'd probably be at a high school reading level, but it's not like anything that's not appropriate for students in middle school. But I love it. I mean, it is my favorite book of all time.
And I'll definitely put, I'm trying to put all the books in the show notes.
Yeah.
So people, I want to find out what Adam was reading. And so it'll be in the notes below.
And this is probably one of Ayn Rand's easier reads.
Yeah.
Her other stuff is not very, it definitely takes some time to go through some of her works. Now,
so you got a second book. What you're reading right now.
So this is what I'm reading right now. It's Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is another this is sci-fi dystopia this time. Dystopian fiction is kind of my favorite to read, just because it kind of like is like, oh, in another world, this could be this, or this could be that. But so this book is kind of like on the front cover it says Ender, Katniss, and now Darrow. and that's I think review by Scott Siegler. So it's kind of like they're mentioning that this is a kind of similar book about a character who starts at the bottom, rises to the top, and defeats the evildoers at the top. Okay. So this book is our main character is they're called Reds in this caste system. There's a caste system of different colors. Reds are at the bottom. They work, they do all the menial labor and stuff like that. It's slave labor basically. They do slave labor, and our character Darrow is called a hell diver. He uses a giant machine drill to drill into the surface of Mars because they're in space. So the Reds' duty is to make Mars habitable for people of Earth, because Earth is slowly dying and decaying over for some reason. I haven't read that far yet. This is the first book out of 6. So if you do invest in this book, you'll have 5 more books to read.
Okay, cool. Well, let's transition a little bit. We're already kind of moving that way, but just started talking about just reading books in general. First, we talked before the show. You were not always a reader. You kind of discovered it, maybe? I don't know how. So talk about your reading experience.
I was a student who had an IEP and a 504. I had this within high school as well. You know, I utilized it a lot less in high school because I was very confident in my skills as a writer, reader, and stuff like that. But I struggled. I always, I didn't know why at the time. I was always separated, but I would go into like separate small groups to work on, like phonics skills, reading skills, stuff like that. And in the lower grades, they don't really have grades per se. They have, I think if it's still the same thing, they have like proficient, something, a couple other ones. But I wasn't very successful. I can't think of it now because I'm so far ahead now in my life, but I'm sure there were various times that I really struggled, and reading didn't want, it was like a rock in a hard place for me. I couldn't get it. And when I was like born till age 4, I didn't talk. I had to go to speech therapy to work on my talking skills. And that's the thing, I think my mom probably knew a lot more and was a lot more worried for me, worried because I get that for parents who have a student who struggles. They don't want their kid to struggle, And my mom, I think she struggled in school, struggled with multiple things, and no parent wants that for their child. Right. Nobody wants that for their child, but I think that's what's important, is working with as many professionals as you can to get your child ahead. It sucks in the moment because you don't want to, it's kind of a grieving process. You don't want your child to, kind of be labeled as this or that. And I definitely felt the difference when I was separated from everybody else doing work. I was like, why am I over here when everyone's over there? Kids, when they get older, will discover that. And that's the part that sucks. You're getting help, but they know they are different for some reason. And it was about 5th grade when something changed in me. Something awesome changed in me. We were doing state testing in that age group, and I didn't feel confident in my test-taking abilities. I thought I had just been guessing, because a lot of times with those state tests at that age, you're working on like, where do commas go in these sentences? What word is this defining? What is this similar word? And knowing the words, I think that's what helped me excel, because I knew a lot of words. It's important to have a good vocabulary as a student, you know. My test scores came up one day and my mom surprised me. She's like, Adam, you're going to be in an advanced English class next year and an advanced social studies class. And I'm like, really? What?
Wow.
I was so amazed with that. I was like, really? I did that good on it? I didn't think I did good. And I didn't have the confidence in that. And then I pretty much from that point on, I told myself, I'm going to try everything. I'm going to do everything in middle school. I'm going to do different things because I was like, I saw it as a new leaf, turning over a new leaf, a fresh start.
Wow.
From going from here, because at the time I didn't have very many friends. I lived alone on my street. There was no kids, nothing like that. So the only time I saw other kids was at school. So middle school, I decided we're gonna make as many friends as I can. I'm gonna do different things. Then that eventually led to me trying sports because I was a video game kid. I didn't like doing nothing physical, and now I'm pretty much all physical. I love doing physical fitness and stuff like that. So that is why I have become such a prevalent reader. Is the little successes in life, that was a little success that has turned into quite a large success for me.
Right. And it's funny, the podcast pretty much is focused, it's for adults. And most little kids aren't going to watch a podcast or listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
So I guess, one of the things I want to, ask you is talking about how, what happens that say you meet an adult who finds out you're a reader and they're like, man, I just find it boring. I'm not into it. I get in my attention span. How would you respond to encourage?
I think I would say it's hard because, various people have various reasons why they don't read, busy schedules, stuff like that. I say finding time to read is important because it's just a way that you discover different versions of like human art. You don't have to read the whole book within one day, 1 hour and stuff like that. Taking short amounts of time to read something that you enjoy. You don't have to read all 100 of the classic novels that they suggest you to read. I know there's like 100 classic novels you should read before you die, blah, blah, blah. But taking the time to read something that you're interested in makes all the difference. Yeah. People will suggest you books day in, day out, but they could probably 100% of the time not be something that you're into. Yeah. And as a teacher, what I've been told is engagement and student choice is the most important things. That doesn't stop when you're an adult. Yeah. It doesn't stop. You're only going to do something if you want to do it, if you enjoy doing it. So why, project yourself to prolonged torture,
Well, and that's someone had recently suggested, hey, if you find a book, you start reading it, and it sucks, put it down. Take it back to the library and get another one.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Don't waste your time with something you don't like.
Yeah. And as you get older, and I've noticed this as becoming an adult, you don't have that time. You don't have that time, which sucks. I wish I could do everything anytime I really wanted to, but the responsibilities change, and you just gotta know yourself and know the book that you're going to like, the topic you're going to like. You're going to want to read that book more.
Okay. One of the, kind of winding down here, but I did want to mention when I was talking to Travis Crabtree last week about I'm looking for a couple people to be on this podcast. Anybody who maybe an athlete, and real quickly, he suggests Adam West. Every time we go someplace, we're on the bus, Adam has a book with him, and he's always reading. So, I mean, that goes, I guess, to the portability of reading. You can take it with you anywhere you go. You have a book with you all the time? Is that a safe assumption?
That is true. I keep books in my book bag and stuff like that. I keep them. I have shelves in my room if I want to grab something. And yeah, you can have this novel in your pocket.
Yep.
There are so many novels that you can just fit in your pocket. You don't have to, have a book bag or anything like that. It's pretty much entertainment in your hand. I mean, that's kind of backwards in my mind to say, having to tell people, yeah, you can just throw it in your pocket. I think people, look at books as more of a, centerpiece, and that's something I've experienced with like other things like music. People see music as just something to be there. Have a piano just to be there. No one expects you to play it.
Right.
So having that book, people get books to be like, oh, this is my collection of books, but they haven't read it. Yeah, they haven't read the books. So, I mean, I don't think any of my books don't have wrinkles, tears, anything like that.
Yep.
They are always in my pocket, always somewhere for me to access them. And there's a funny story about that, Crabtree. I was reading at a wrestling tournament because I decided that day I didn't want to use my phone. I didn't want to be on my phone during, wrestling, being prepared for wrestling and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm going to bring this book. It was We the Living by Ayn Rand. And then we were there for a couple hours and I finally decided to pick it up and start reading. Everyone was like, what are you doing? Why do you have a book? And I'm like, because I want to read it. And even one of my coaches, I think Coach Duper, was like, he asked me, you read, West? And I'm like, yeah, I read. And it's like, everyone was acting like it was such a foreign thing to read. And I was like, no, yeah, I read. And I think it was just kind of like, I'm a bigger guy, bigger gentleman, I'm tall and stuff like that. And I think people think of me like, by first looks, I'm sure they think, oh, this guy's a big meathead. He's like giant and huge and scary looking. I get, because my face doesn't rest well. I don't really smile in my face too much. It's one kind of monotone expression, and I don't think people expect athletes to read. And I was always under the impression you should be the brain and the brawn. Yeah. You should be both. You should have both. I try to read as much as I can, and I try to inspire the wrestlers to read as much as they can, because, it maybe the books in school aren't their type of thing, but they can find something that is their type of thing.
Right. I want to say thank you. I really appreciate you coming in, coming in on your day off to chat. So thank you so much. And I think we had some good stuff, good conversation. So I appreciate that very much.
Of course. Thank you, Jeff.
Very good. Yep.
All right.
Oh man, that was good. I truly enjoyed chatting with Adam. Hope you enjoyed listening. Obviously, we went a little longer than normal. I'm trying to keep the podcast to about 15, 20 minutes. So we went a little bit longer today, but certainly what Adam was talking about I thought was very interesting, not only about him and the books he reads, but sort of how he got into reading and the struggles that he put up with and his encouragement for other folks to read. So thanks again. I've got another podcast coming later this week. We're going to sit down and chat with a bus driver here at Perkins, someone who's equally as interesting as Adam and my prior guest, Annalise. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.